Welcome back into another episode of the Full Tank Truck Talk. I'm your host, Phil Eastman, and I'm the host of the Full Tank with Phil podcast, where you get all of your Cup Series action each and every week, wherever you listen to your podcast. But here on YouTube, we are talking trucks as we do every time the trucks are out there. And this week, we've got Friday Night Lights. We're going to Richmond for some short track racing. So very excited about that. I will be watching this race on Friday night with the fellas from the draft, Tino Patino and Ryan Stevens. So I'm excited about that. So we'll probably have some bets flying on race day as we see practice and qualifying unfold up there in the upstate New York area. So I'm looking forward to hanging out with those guys and letting some bets fly. But first, let's do a quick recap of last week because we had a Watkins Glen race that, man, that was a stressful one. And we were on Corey Heim at a 3-1 number, right? Connor Zilich had all the lines very wonky, and we correctly read the room there. And it was a battle, though. And I was watching that race with my brother-in-law. It was his birthday. He bet Corey Heim as well. And to see all of those cautions work in our favor to work his way back. And then we were saying, okay, no more cautions, because he was running low on fuel. That was an exciting one to race or to watch that race unfold the way it did. So happy that Corey Heim was able to get it done for us. A couple of the other bets didn't work out in our favor, but we got the outright at 3-1, and that felt very good. I was very happy at the end of that one, that's for sure. We were high-fiving. It was his birthday. So high fives all around at the end of that race. So Watkins Glen in the rearview mirror. Connor Zilich, though, I should say, the aforementioned Connor Zilich Xfinity Series race wins that one and breaks his collarbone. Tough look for a race car driver. So you hate to see that. Hopefully he's back in very soon. So we will get back to it then and start talking about Richmond. All right. We'll talk about the entry list here in a second. I've got this pulled up. Let me see. I guess this is the qualifying order, but some of the names that are a little bit different this week. We got Carson Quapple in the 97 driving as a second car for Grant Enfinger's team. We've got Ryan Roulette, hell of a name. Don't really know who that is, but hell of a name. Steven Malazzi's racing. He's got to win the race. Paint scheme on that one. Good for him. We've got Luke Fenhouse driving the 66. We've got our old familiar friend, Christian Eckes, back in the Truck Series driving the 16 truck. We love to see that. And then Brent Cruz driving the 1 truck. We've got Corey LaJoy racing as well for Spire. And Caden Honeycutt officially in the 52 this week for now the rest of the year. And Sammy Smith is driving the 7 Spire truck. So another, it's not as fully stacked as we had last week at Watkins Glen with some of like the bigger Cup Series names, but still a good list of names that are added to our week by week truck roster as well. So let's talk about outrights, and where you need to start is the top of the board with Corey Heim. Obviously, he made us some money last week. He's been killing it for us every week. But what I'm seeing when I'm looking at the stats here is an opportunity for us to strike with a different driver outside of Corey Heim. I think that if you look at his overall numbers at Richmond, they're just okay in 3 starts. He's got a top 5, 2 top 10s, average finish of 9th. He's vulnerable, though. And when you got a guy that wins every race, if you see these type of stats, you're like, ooh, okay, this is good. I can look somewhere else and maybe, jump on a different driver. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to go with a couple different guys here from the outright section. And the first place we're going to go is Lane Riggs, plus 330 on DraftKings. Lane Riggs, he ran this race last year, started 4th, finished 5th. Okay. This is a driver that when we go to these types of tracks, his name comes up for good reason. And we've seen that reason come to fruition this year. Okay. In 2025 at Martinsville. Now, for the Truck Series, the comp tracks that I'm using from 2025 that we've been to so far, I'm using Martinsville as, it's a secondary comp track. And then we're also using North Wilkes-Barre because this was a points paying race for the trucks. And we're also looking at IRP. So what we saw was a lot of improvement for Lane Riggs this year. 11th at Martinsville. Then he jumps to second at North Wilkes-Barre. And then what did he do at IRP just a few weeks ago? He embarrassed the field, is what he did. I mean, that was just, it didn't matter. He was just all over it. So, and by the way, North Wilkes-Barre, he started 27th and worked his way up to second. At IRP, started 11th, won the race. Like he was moving, and field, he was leading a ton of laps in that race. So I think Lane Riggs is perfect for this racetrack. And if we do get a new winner, somebody that hasn't won here for the first time, it's Lane Riggs all the way. So he is where we're starting with this one. If you're going back the last, few winners, we had Majeski, Hocevar, Smith, Nemechek, Enfinger. Those are big names. And Lane Riggs, especially if he wants to be considered in the championship conversation, this is a race that, the bigger names win in the Truck Series. So he's where we're starting at plus 330. And depending on the book, he's, the second favorite. Heim is the favorite on various books. So I feel like we're getting a little bit of a discount there. But if it's not Lane Riggs, where can we go? I love Chandler Smith this week. I love his outright number at plus 550. This is also on DraftKings. He is great at Richmond. We look at his last two starts in the Truck Series. He finished fourth and then won his last race while he was racing in the Truck Series a few years ago. And then he moved up to Xfinity. And what did he do in the Xfinity Series at Richmond? He won back-to-back races at Richmond in the Xfinity Series. So this is perfect. Now he's dropping back down. And you say, all right, well, he's good at Richmond, but he hasn't really been moving the needle too much for me this year. Well, I would recommend kind of relooking at that because in the 2025 comp tracks, he's first in average finish, 3.7 average finish, fourth at Martinsville, first at North Wilkes-Barre, and finished seventh a few weeks ago at IRP. So he will absolutely play a factor in this race. It's a perfect combination of decent enough, and he's got to win. So decent enough on short flats this season, and also the horse for the course type of deal with Chandler Smith. He is just good at Richmond. So we can't look the other way there. We have to be on top of that. And I don't want to, fade him for any reason and then get burned. So he qualifies well at this type of racetrack. And this season he's qualified well. He's got fourth place qualifying at Martinsville, third. He started at IRP. So really good stuff for Chandler Smith. Now he's starting to qualify his order. He's going off 23rd out of 37 trucks. So he's not going to be in a great spot to qualify super well, but I think his history will tell us that he'll be starting inside that top 10. So that's, I really love that as a outright pick. Chandler Smith is one to watch. That is for sure. So those are a couple outrights that I wanted to throw your way. How about some placement picks? We'll go to someone that just kind of old faithful, and that is Grant Enfinger for a top 5 plus 180 on Bet365. He's plus 170 elsewhere, but Bet365, he's available to me. Looking at the last 5 Richmond races, he's got a 5.2 average finish, 1 win, 3 top 5s, and he's got a 100% hit rate, finishing inside the top 10. Now, again, we're not asking for a top 10. I mean, a little bit more than that, but 3 of those 5 races, he's hitting this bet. So another guy that just seems to jump off the page when we go to Richmond. He just loves this track. His average starting position, 5.8. Like he's starting well, putting himself in good position and finishing well. And I love to see that with these different drivers. So he's also starting, in Group 2, but he's going off 21st. So he's going to have to work a little harder than maybe he had in the past to qualify well here at Richmond. But this is a veteran driver that has done very well here, and I expect to see it. Now in 2025, finished 29th at Martinsville. So we don't really have our hat hanging there. But at IRP and North Wilkes-Barre, kind of weird. He started 8th and finished 5th in both of those races. So top 5, 2 top 5s out of those 3 comp tracks this season. This season. That's pretty damn good for plus 180, what we're looking for here for a top 5. So another situation of good at this racetrack, decent, 2 for 3 this season hitting this bet on short flats, these comp tracks. Grant Enfinger is without a doubt one to keep your eyes on. So I love this. I've already selected this one on bet 365. Now, the next guy, or the last guy I'll talk about in a placement pick, is going to be Ty Majeski. And I am someone that doesn't love top 3 bets, right? We know we don't get top 10s in the Truck Series. If I could change anything about NASCAR gambling, that's what it would be. Give me top 10s. I love it. But the most we get is top 5s. So top 3s are sometimes the only spot where you see some value. And I really wanted Majeski for a top 5. Hey, I may throw a parlay on something with him in a top 5 to get me a number that I want on Friday. But top 3 at plus 110 on ESPN Bet. That's something that is, pretty solid. Let's start with 2025. All right, that's our starting position here. 13th at Martinsville. Okay. Not loving that, but it is what it is. We'll take it. And then he's got back-to-back 6th place finishes at North Wilkes-Barre and IRP. So he's just missing the top 5. So we're losing money on him when we go to these short flats this season. So, I can understand being a little apprehensive here, but the fact of the matter is Richmond is the track where we expect him to show up. The last couple years at Richmond, and actually he's got 3 career starts at this track. His finishes 3rd, 2nd, and 1st. Truly unbelievable numbers here for Ty Majeski. Just wild 128.8 average driver rating at this track. 2.0 average finish for all you math whizzes out there trying to do the math in your head. And the thing about it is his starting position has been unbelievable at this track. He just unloads fast, 1.3 average start. He's got the pole twice, and last year when he won the race, he started 2nd. So he hasn't started outside of 2nd in his career at Richmond. Well, he's going off 31st of 37 trucks to qualify. So I like that opportunity for him there. And, some of the trucks behind him, I'm looking at Gio Ruggiero, Caden Honeycutt. I don't know if those guys are going to have it. So I see him qualifying well yet again and putting himself in position. So he has never finished outside the top 3 at Richmond. I think now, he's working his way up this year on the short flat track schedule. Ty Majeski is definitely frisky, and it's kind of like, if not now, then when for Majeski, right? We got to really start to put it together. This defending champion of this race, defending champion of this series. This is a track. It's a get right spot for Majeski. So keep your eyes peeled on him. So those are the couple placement picks that I have for you that I'm in on already. Let's get into a couple matchups, and then we'll hit the finish line segment where I've got some leans that I want to throw your way as well. But we'll dip in here to a couple head-to-heads. Let's start with one that I kind of alluded to earlier. And I was having a great conversation with Tino and Ryan just a little bit ago when we recorded the draft. In our post game, we were talking about the trucks, and we were kind of all in agreement. Like, if there's a spot where Heim isn't it, it's Richmond. And to me, it's one of those deals where if you can get over the mental block of Heim wins every race, right? If you can get over that and say to yourself, well, the door is open for others, like I established already with Riggs, then it kind of frees you to really see things differently. And so if we're agreeing that Riggs is a threat to win the race, How about just minus 110 on DraftKings to beat one guy, Corey Heim, a guy that I think we can easily see, not easily. I mean, let me take that back. Maybe I'm get a little ahead of myself there. But a guy that we've seen do that this year on this style track, right? It's he is beatable, not just at Richmond, which he's very vulnerable, but he's beatable on these style tracks. And guess what? Corey Heim on these comp tracks in 2025 has won the pole all 3 times. All 3 times. And it's half the reason is because he sets himself up going out last. He's doing that again this week. So he's probably going to win the pole. Is that going to scare you off a little bit? I'm not scared of it because the stats will tell you he's vulnerable. At Martinsville, started first, finished 6th. Okay. At Wilkes-Barre, started first, finished 17th. At IRP, started first, finished 4th. And where did Riggs finish those last 2 races? 2nd and 1st. He's 2-1 against Corey Heim head-to-head this year, and he's an underdog in this matchup. If we think Riggs can win the race, I think you could get behind this bet as well. Nobody hates fading Corey Heim more than me. Okay. But I think in this particular situation, the numbers speak to it. So that's where we're going here with Lane Riggs over Corey Heim minus 110 on DraftKings. DraftKings was one of the last books to release truck odds, and they came hot and heavy with a bunch of random head-to-head matchups. And so we're going to end this here with the matchup segment with a random one. Daniel Hemrick over Carson Kvapil. They have Hemrick listed minus 105 as the underdog. That does not compute with me. It just doesn't. So we'll get to Kvapil in a second here. But let's get to Hemrick, okay? Because I actually had a different head-to-head matchup written down, and that was on ESPN Bet, and it was against Sammy Smith. And Sammy Smith, short, flat track guy, like he's got that history riding the 7 Spire truck. Like it was a little more shaky. He was plus 100, but minus 105. It's almost the same exact number we're getting for Hemrick to beat Carson Kvapil. So let's talk about Henrik here. Henrik has been awesome this season. Awesome. And I know we don't have a lot of data to pull from for him when we talk about the Truck Series and being in Richmond, right? Because Hemrick is a guy who was out for a long period of time and coming back into the Truck Series after a long layoff. We don't have any stats. I don't see that he's ran at Richmond ever in the trucks. But this season, he's been really good, sneaky good. And I think it's because he's been a little bit of a lull. 3 starts on these comps. He's got a win at Martinsville, 4th at Wilkes-Barre, 8th at IRP. All 3 for 3, finishing inside the top 10. All 3 of those starts, he started within the top 10. Where is he qualifying? He's qualifying second to last, right before Corey Heim at the end of that one. That's going to put him in a great situation to go out, have a great qualifying run, start top 5 like he's been doing all year. All 3 of his starts on these comps are top 10 starts. And then you look at Carson Kvapil, okay? He hasn't started in the Truck Series since 2023 at Bristol. He finished 12th. Good start, good finish, I would say, for Kvapil. But he's going off first in qualifying. That is going to put him in a serious situation to start the race. And then they're going to have to make some moves to, get some track position, you'd have to imagine. So he's already theoretically behind the 8 ball going off first in qualifying. Then you're saying, okay, this second truck that they have, the second truck for CR7 is going to have to really outperform one of the playoff drivers in Daniel Hemrick, the 19 truck. I don't see that happening. Win the race simulation has this fair at minus 128 for Hemrick. I kind of thought it was going to be a little bit more in his favor, but still minus 105. They're calling him the underdog in this matchup on DraftKings. I don't see it. So I think that the table can be set here. If Hemrick goes out and runs 7th, I think he wins this head-to-head matchup. I really do. And I also think that the ceiling is higher than 7th for Daniel Hemrick. So we'll leave it at that. Hemrick over Quapple is the last pick here on the head-to-head matchup segment. So that's it there for the best bets. Again, Riggs, Chandler Smith for the outrights. We got Enfinger top 5, Majeski top 3, Riggs over Heim, and Hemrick over Quapple. Now let's talk about a couple leans here to wrap things up in the finish line segment. I do have a couple graphics for it. I know we love Christian Eckes, and I hate to, that's why I haven't placed this bet yet, but I just want to start this conversation, right? I made the case earlier for Enfinger. He's very good at Richmond, been very fast on the short flats. You got Christian Eckes coming back down, running an extra McAnally truck, a McAnally team who really needs to start getting their shit together. We just talked about Hemrick. They need to really figure out their situation. They need Hemrick to run well. They need Ankrum to run well. And now we're flirting around here with an Eckes extra truck. I don't really understand that move, but hey, love to see Christian Eckes race. Plus 110 over a part-time throwaway truck, 16 truck. It's interesting to me. A strong driver. Interesting. Sticking with that same camp, Tyler Ankrum is sneaky good at this style of track. Okay. Top 5 plus 325 on ESPN bet. I don't know. I'll tell you what. He started 10th, finished 6th last year. Not too shabby. You know, he's kind of a little bit of a snake in the grass. In the last 5 starts at Richmond, he's got 2 top 5s, 3 top 10s. He's 5 for 5, finishing inside the top 15. So what that tells you is he keeps the car clean enough. He finishes races. That's what we're looking for. And then this season, pulling his stats up right now, all 3 finishes on those comp tracks, top 10s. He's got a 2nd at Martinsville, 3rd at North Wilkes-Barre, 9th at IRP. The hurdle that we're getting over, or we need to get over to bet this bet, and for Hemrick to get his victory in the head-to-head matchup, would be the McAnally trucks taking a step forward. Because if you're looking at their trajectory on these comps, 2025 season, they started really well and they haven't been bad, but they're not race-winning trucks anymore like they were earlier in the start of the year. They're 8th place trucks, 9th place trucks. They need to revert back and, kind of get back to where they were towards the start of the year. So, again, if they can get right heading into these playoffs, I think this is going to be a good situation for a sneaky little top 5, maybe, half unit kind of deal for Ankrum, just one to throw out there. The last thing that I'm going to mention is one that I will probably see myself taking this. You're going to have to pay some juice, minus 150. Okay. But this is a fun bet because if you can't make your mind up, you got a lot of drivers when you take the even car number at minus 150. Okay. So you're basically betting it once again against Corey Heim, but you've got Lane Riggs, you've got Tyler Ankrum, you've got Christian Eckes for whatever, you consider that being worth. You've got Ty Majeski on your team. The two, you've got Chandler Smith, the 2 guys that we called out, the 34 and the 38 on your team for this type of bet. So with Riggs, Smith, and Majeski all on your side for this bet, that's really who's going to win you this matchup. Then you get a guy like Tyler Ankrum thrown in there, Christian Eckes thrown in there to boot. It's just, extra icing on the cake here. So this is one that I could probably see myself getting into as Friday approaches. But right now, it's just a lean because of the juice, but you get a great roster of drivers there. So that's going to do it for all the drivers and bets that I wanted to talk about here for Richmond. If I didn't mention a driver that you're on or a bet that you like, let me know in the comments or give me a follow at Full Tank Phil on X or Instagram, and I'd love to talk that one out with you. So everyone have a good Richmond weekend. Friday night lights for the trucks. We got night racing on Saturday night for the Cup Series. Hope everyone wins some money, and we will see you next time in the playoffs for the trucks.